Okay, here we go. Here's the answers to the long answer questions for your Christmas past paper homework. Question 1, you have to complete the table about the structure of an atom. Protons have a mass of 1, just like a neutron, and have no charge, so whether you wrote 0 or the number 0 is both fine. You need both of those to get the 1 mark. A particle outside is an electron, you should all know that, and the charge on an electron is -1. A sample of nitrogen was found to contain equal amounts of 2 isotopes, so a 14 and a 15 mass number. Equal amounts, so if you have 50% of each, the overall relative atomic mass of the sample must be 14.5, exactly in the middle of those two numbers, and that's another 1 mark. Oh, you needed electron and -1 to get the 1 mark in the previous question. So there's a picture of ammonia. Its shape is pyramidal, 1 mark, and the industrial process to make it is the Haber process, also 1 mark. Here's a polymer question, and you have to draw 3 monomers joined together of styrene. So we're going to make polystyrene 3 joined together. There's 2 joined together, there's 3. Remember and leave these end bits here. Whether you drew a bracket or not, you still get the mark. It's all hydrogens along the top. And then it's hydrogen alternated with C6H5. For 1 mark. Next question is talking about monomers. Different monomers polymerize, a copolymer is formed. A copolymer can be made from styrene, which you already have from above. Here's styrene here. So it's styrene mixed with acetonitrile, and you have to draw the structure for the acetonitrile polymer. So there's your styrene there. Once you break that bond, you need to take that end one off and then put a double bond in there. Same here, you will take off that end bit here and then put a double bond in here. So you should have had this monomer here. COCH3 for 1 mark. Hydrogen gas can be produced. State the term to describe all chemical reactions that release energy, that's exothermic. 1 mark. Calculate the average rate. This is only 2 marks because it gives you the units. So remember, average rate is change in y or change in volume divided by change in time, and it's between 10 and 30 seconds. So your time should have been 30, take away 10 on the bottom. So it's between here and here. 30 take away 10, and then you should have had 29 take away 12 on the top, which is 17 divided by 20, which is 0.85. If you wrote the units, they need to be correct, or you would have got 0. Estimate the time in seconds for the reaction to finish. Reaction finished is when the volume of hydrogen should level out. It levels out after 60 seconds, but it could have happened anywhere from 51 up to 60. So if you wrote any of those numbers, 51 all the way up to 60, you would have got the 1 mark. The student repeated the experiment using zinc powder. What would happen to the rate of the reaction? So in the first one they'd used lumps, on the second one they'd used powder. So remember, if you use a powder instead of lumps, the surface area would have been larger, particle size smaller, so the reaction would have been faster. So if you wrote faster, increased, something equivalent to that, you would have got the 1 mark. This circled salt, so this is a metal plus an acid, makes hydrogen plus a salt. So all you had to do is circle that or write its name down below to get the 1 mark. Next question, some people find tricky. Calculate the volume of hydrogen gas. So calculate the volume of hydrogen, so I would have circled that. In litres produced when 0.01 moles of aluminium. So we're only interested in those two things. So it's a 2 to 3 ratio between them. But we don't have 2 moles of aluminium. We only have 0.01 moles of aluminium. So if you have, how do you get from 2 to 3? You times by 1.5. So how would you get from 0.01? You times by 1.5, which would be 0.015. So that's how many moles of hydrogen you have. And you know 1 mole of hydrogen contains 24 litres. You don't have 1 mole, you only have 0.015. So you should have times that by 24 litres, and that would have gave you the volume of 0.36 litres. 2 marks if you got that. Number 4. Name the 2 forms of minerals that form at 400 degrees. So I would have went to 400 degrees in the graph, and you should have had this one and this one. You need both of those written in to get the 1 mark. Both of those exist at 400 degrees. Complete the table to show the temperature and pressure at which all 3 form. So all 3 form at this point here. So you just have to follow the graph down to around here. That's around 500 in there. And the mineral pressure going along is 4. So the temperature is 500 and the pressure in kilobar was 4. You needed both of those. In the marking scheme it's 490 to 510, and you also could have had between 3.9 and 4.1. Both of those required to get the 1 mark. Next question is calculating percentage mass of Al2 2SiO5 and its percentage mass of silicon. So we want to work out the GFM. 5 times 16, silicon is 1 times 28, and aluminium is 2 times 27. GFM should have been 162, therefore 28, which is the silicon, divided by 162 times 100 to get 90%. Should have gave you 17.3. We would accept 17, 17.28 or 17.3%. Any of those three, and that's 3 marks. I believe it's 1 mark for the GFM, 1 mark for the calculation, and then 1 mark for your answer. This is where you get the 3 marks from. Number 5 is just about reading the passage and answering the questions. So suggest a reason why gold is useful. And the answer there is unreactive. Does not react. You could have wrote that. Or can be beaten into shape. If you also had that, you would accept that answer. Or found uncombined. So it's not attached to anything below the ground. Calculate the number of neutrons present in the naturally occurring isotope of gold. So it mentions a mass number of 197. So gold is AU 197. You would have need to have went to your data booklet to find gold. It's there, number 79. That's its atomic number, remember? 79. And then you need to take those two numbers away from each other, and you should have got 118 for 1 mark. So write an equation using symbols to show the reaction for trace carbon monoxide from gases, and it told you carbon monoxide plus oxygen gives you carbon dioxide from the passage. 1 mark. The purpose of the gold in this whole reaction is a catalyst. That's why it sits here on the arrow. And gold nanorods. It says gold nanorods come from a dilute solution of auric acid. So if something is acidic, then it has more hydrogen ions than hydroxide ions. You needed both of those to get the 1 mark. Number 6, fertilizer question. A fertilizer for tomato plants contains phosphorus and potassium. Suggest a test including the result. So it's test and the result to show that potassium. So what they were looking for there was a flame test. You could have dissolved that solution in water, put it in a Bunsen flame, and then they need the result. Remember, it would have went purple or lilac colour. You needed both those things, a flame test and the colour, to get the 1 mark. Ammonium citrate is included. Suggest another reason why ammonium citrate is added to a fertilizer. Well, ammonium is NH4, remember. So plants require nitrogen. So something along the lines of nitrogen is needed for plants. A good supply of nitrogen is needed for good plant growth, anything along those lines to get the 1 mark. Balance this equation. You should have got a 3 here and a 3 here. You needed both of those to get 1 mark. Knowledge of chemistry questions. This might be quite difficult to mark on your own. If you need instructions on this, you can let me know. But strontium, I probably would have started on your data booklet. Strontium is in group 2, number 38. So let's start. Strontium is SR, it's got the atomic number 38. It's in group 2, therefore it's going to have similar properties to magnesium and calcium, which are reactive metals. They're near the top of the reactivity series, so it may be extracted by electrolysis. What else can we find on strontium? So melting point and boiling point, you could have quoted that. 777, 1382. That's his melting point and boiling point. Electron arrangement 281882. 281882, and when it forms an ion, Sr2 plus, this electron arrangement would be 28188, so it's got its full shell. It's also in the table for flame colours. It's got a red flame colour. You could have wrote that. Red flame colour. Strontium. So you could have quoted its relative atomic mass 87.5, density 2.64. It was discovered in 1790. I think that was in the question. So a couple of those things. It's not in that table. There's so many things you could have wrote for this. It's a metal, so it will form ionic compounds. You could have written any of those. So strontium chloride is a salt. So many things you could have written for this question. I'll let you judge that. It's a 3-mark question, 1, 2 or 3. If you're unsure what to give yourself, you could ask me to have a look at it and I'll be able to have a look. So that's number 7. 8 and 9 you didn't need to know at this point. So we jump straight to number 10. Batteries. So this is a metals question. have a read. State the term used to describe an ionic compound what is used for this purpose. What we're looking for there is an electrolyte. 1 mark. Yeah, to draw the direction, zinc is higher than copper in the electrochemical series, so the electrons would go through the wires, remember. One mark. And apparatus X is the ion bridge or salt bridge. 1 mark. Name the type of reaction occurring in beaker B. Remember, if the electrons are on the right hand side, then that's oxidation. If the electrons are on the left hand side, like beaker A, that's our reduction. Write the redox reaction for the overall reaction. So we have 2 electrons on each side, so they just cancel out. And then we write everything we have on the left, everything we have on the right, separated by the arrow. So we have Br2 liquid plus SO3 2 minus aqueous plus H2O liquid goes to 2Br minus aqueous plus SO4 2 minus aqueous plus 2 protons, and you need all that to get the 1 mark. Name a non-metal. We've done this quite a few times in experiments before. Graphite. Or if you wrote carbon, that's also accepted. Number 12, you can do. Part C, you could do though. Titration question. What is the average volume? So here we have a rough titer, which was 15.6. The first titer was 14.9, and the second titer was 15.1. Remember what we said? All data needs to be between 0.2 of each other, which means this one is way above 0.2. So we would only take these 2 as our answers, but it's an average of those 2, so it would be 14.9 plus 15.1 divided by 2, 15.0 centimeters cubed. 1 mark. Oxalic acid is found in rhubarb. A piece of rhubarb weighs 1.8 grams. Calculate the number of moles. Number of moles equals mass divided by GFM, which is also in the question. 1.8 divided by 90. 0.02 moles. 1 mark for that. Right, last question. Again, this is open to interpretation. So carbon dioxide, that's how we make fizzy juice. We dissolve carbon dioxide in water. Remember, carbon dioxide is an acidic gas. Describe how students could determine which brand of carbonated water contains more carbon dioxide. So if you dissolve more CO2 in water, the pH going to be lower. So the more carbon dioxide you have, the lower the pH, the more acidic, and you could measure the pH by a pH probe. You could do it that way. Also, the more CO2, the more bubbles there will be. And we could collect or measure the number of bubbles using a gas syringe, possibly. You could have drawn that. And then we could have used the average rate equation by doing changing quantity divided by changing time. That could have told us which one had more carbon dioxide in it. You could have wrote a whole host of things here. pH would be less than 7, or we could have went with CO2 bubbles. Again, this is out of 3 marks. If you're unsure how many marks to give yourself, give me a shout and then I can check it. So I think that completes that. The multiple choice was out of 13, this part was out of 44. You should give yourself a mark out of 57 in total. Once you've done that, if you go to your OneNote and the Christmas homework section, you've got a section here. Please write what you got out of 57 in here, so I can have a look. Once you've done that, what I'd like you to do for task 2 is, from your results, identify your strengths and next steps. And how well you did in that past paper. Strengths and next steps, I want at least 5 or 6 of each. You should be able to manage that, and then that will cover another lesson for us this week. Right, I think that's everything. Good luck, and I expect to see high numbers in this.